Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-host,
Selector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of The Heroes, Joe's second standalone, and the next First Law entry, and we cover The Best of Us, so let's get started. Oh, folks, we want to thank you for your support. As you know, it has been a trying time recently due to a certain someone stepping on some toes on a certain website. But we have an update for you about that. But we just want to thank you for your continued support. It's been a while since I've done this, but I just want to shout out the other artists besides me that had helped with creating the banner. I think it was. I feel like there was something else they did like a couple years ago. So just want to thank you. I forget who you are. I'm a dick. We should find in our history.
And don't forget your very good friend that has kindly made the intro and outro music.
Yep. Maszy music. All right, don't forget that. He likes to make some musical musics.
I think we've been leaning on that. It's like a crutch, isn't it? It's like Glock's stick. We're just leaning on the excellent intro music to get people hooked.
Yeah, basically. It was a good one. It's a good one.
You know what's not a crutch, though? Reddit. We don't need them.
Yeah, we don't need them. Fuck you, Reddit.
We have more to talk about that a little bit later. But and I just want to remind you all to follow us on our YouTube page. George, you and me say this all the time. We have got to fucking fix that. Our social media, our Instagrams, our Twitters,
and not our Reddit.
Not the Reddit.
No, don't worry about the Reddit. And our Facebooks. I think we have a Facebook. Do we have a TikTok?
What?
I don't think anybody that listens to this is on Facebook, to be honest.
No, true. Wait, I thought you made TikToks.
I did for a little while.
Harrison made TikToks for like a week, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was like a 1 month. Wait, but you didn't make a TikTok account? I'm pretty sure you did.
I did.
Oh yeah, we have a TikTok account, definitely.
Okay. I was.
Don't worry about that.
Well, I was forced to download TikTok because my friend just wouldn't shut the fuck up. So if you want, I can take that TikTok account over.
It's where you can post your Lord's rounds and stuff. Wait, we shouldn't talk about this on the podcast.
Well, yes,
we'll talk about this.
We are letting the people know that we are unsure of what we're gonna do. That's what.
Yeah, we have no clue what we're doing. We obviously are children who are somehow have become a great success, an American dream.
Yeah, don't forget, we are. This is a grift for a shit podcast. Do not forget.
It's actually incredible that we've lasted this long.
Yeah,
and all the long-term listeners, we really, really appreciate it. And
seriously,
like you guys said, all you have to do is get in touch and just let us know what you want to hear more of. If there was a particular bit or something that made you laugh, just let us know.
Yeah, because we don't have a way to reach out to you right now.
Exactly, but that's all the motivation we need.
Yeah, so okay, if you want us to either talk about a certain character, maybe like we'll do like a YouTube video on it or anything, just either email us directly at circletheworldpodcast@gmail.com. Go to our Twitter account, which I believe is just Circle of the World. Actually, hold on, let me tell you guys right now. I should have this information like readily available, but I don't because I'm a fucking more. Okay, it's at COTW Pod on Twitter. We're not calling it X, so I'm dead naming Twitter. And
you're such a millennial, Jeffrey.
Whatever. Old man on the lawn kind of thing. And we are Circle the World Podcast on Instagram. What are we on Twitter? I mean, on TikTok. Harrison?
I don't know.
Good question.
We're gonna find it. We're gonna find it. Oh, I
just type Circle of the World. You'll find us.
You'll find us. It's the fucking shit.
We're on the Circle of the World.
Yeah, and you can also, if you're listening on Spotify, you can leave a comment directly.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to leave a comment on an episode, then that's also great with us. So we'll try our best to respond. We've recently discovered that this actually exists. They sent us the first email, didn't they? And it was like somebody's left their first comment, and it was actually like the 8th comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the email was somebody just left you a comment. I had seen that before, and I was like, "Where is it?" Then I go to the Spotify podcasters thing, and I saw like those 8 comments, and they had never been approved. Like you allow them to show up. So I was like, oh, whoops. So then I allowed them all. So now they're up on the episodes. Whoever commented on those. Thank you guys were so nice. But without further ado, let's get right into the episode, and we'll start off with our first segment, which, as you know, is the best meme of the week. Georgia boy, that's a you. Take it away.
Well, thank you for that bombastic introduction, Jeffrey. That was wonderful. You got a good singing voice, or you know that?
Oh shit! All right.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You get a bit of a reverb.
Yeah, you take this other room. I'm trying to record a podcast.
Yeah, I'm dissembling here because there isn't actually a meme of the week this week. You know, as you guys know, probably the House of the Meme has been quite quiet lately. There's been no big release. You know, it's not a surprise. There's not been a big release in 2 or 3 years. Devils is still a year and a half away, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't even apply for the this site anyway. But so I'm just going to go over some of Spaceman's ones that we missed while we were on a break.
Okay.
So it's the classic sexual harassment infographic where it's only sexual harassment if it's the ugly fat guy with glasses. It's like, let's overthrow Grand Duke Orso. Oh, you're sweet. Let's overthrow Grand Duke Orso. Hello, human resources. And it's Monza and Benna. Because obviously we love it if Monza does it.
Right.
Benna's a little shit, so everything he does is poison.
Well, he is a little shit though, so fuck him.
Exactly. So this meme doesn't really make sense to me. What do you guys think?
I was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was confused.
I like how you were laughing when you said it, and then you just you're like, actually, you know what? This is not. Actually, this week we're doing worst meme of the week.
It does make sense because we, the fandom, are the lady.
No. The reason why. Yeah. No, you're right, Jeff.
No, you are right. Yeah. except in this case, they're both serial killers. It's just that one's fat and ugly.
Well, we don't know Ben is fat and ugly. I mean, Monza wouldn't just degrade.
No, I mean in the meme, not in the book.
Oh. Because Monza's all about that Benna. So yeah. All right, continue, George. Sorry.
That's it. I just there isn't been a meme of the week, guys. Make some more memes. I want to see some more memes.
Yeah, because we can't anymore.
Yeah,
we can. We just have to send them to Sir Spaceman.
Oh, don't say that.
What?
Oh, Jeffrey, no.
Okay, first of all, you can edit that, but why can't I say that?
I'm paranoid. I'm scared that.
No, don't say it. There's
going to be like a Reddit admin spying on us going, no, they're going to send that stuff to me.
We get a message. It shows a screenshot of the recording. We found you, you bastards.
And you know what? The second I said that, I realized how silly it was.
You think a listener infiltrated and was like an actual a Reddit admin? That's hilarious.
You don't know how deep it goes, Jeffrey.
So he's a loyal listener, but he's also made it his mission to ban us from Reddit. Okay. All right. Love it. All right. Well, thank you for that, George. I appreciate that choice of meme, and obviously thanks to Will for that one. All right, so we'll go right into our first chapter read through, and this is The Best of Us. I'm not gonna say which perspective it is first. All I'm gonna say is that first there's a letter, right, to your August Majesty. Now I am going to read this letter verbatim.
Oh God.
What? You got a problem?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. Your August Majesty, we are entirely recovered from the reverse at Quiet Ford, and the campaign proceeds. For all Black Dow's cunning, Lord Marshal Croy is driving him steadily north towards his capital at Carleon. We are no more than 2 weeks' march from the city now. He cannot fall back forever. We will have him. Your Majesty can depend upon it. General Dannenhorm's division won a small engagement on a chain of hills to the northeast yesterday. Lord Governor Meade leads his division south towards Allensan in the hope of forcing the Northmen to split their forces and give battle at a disadvantage. I travel with General Mitterick's division close to Marshal Croy's headquarters. Yesterday, near a village called Barden, Northmen ambushed our supply column as it was stretched out along the bad roads. Through the alertness and bravery of our rear guard, they were being they were beaten back with heavy losses. I recommend to your majesty one Lieutenant Kearns, who showed particular valor and lost his life in the engagement, leaving, I understand, a wife and young children behind him. The columns are well ordered, the weather is fair, the army moves freely, and the men are in the highest spirits. I remain your majesty's most faithful and unworthy servant, Bremer Dangorst, Royal Observer of the Northern War.
That's really good if Bremer Dangorst was a 68-year-old chain smoker.
So when we first started this podcast, we thought we probably should start scripting, and then we started going and thought we don't need a script. And I'm starting to think that maybe our original idea was the correct idea.
What? You didn't like the idea of me reading the letter? Oh, that was great.
It was perfect. I was being sarcastic.
If you haven't figured it out, viewers, even though I just said it at the end of the letter, we are finally peeking behind the curtain through Bremer Dangorst's perspective. If you remember him, he is the big burly fencer that was whooping everybody's ass in the first trilogy during the contest, and then Giselle, fair and square, beat him. Bias.
Where's the king?
Anyway. Oh, we know that Bias fucking cheated for him.
Right. And then he ended up being the king's bodyguard. So that's where we last know of him officially.
And for all we know, a brave and loyal man. He dies in front of Giselle, in front of the Eaters, in Last Argument of the Kings, just without a second thought. He's willing to sacrifice his own life.
Well, I mean, he didn't die, but yes.
Yeah, but, come on. It's like Costco, isn't it? It's like, I gave my life for you. But you fucking done it.
Right. So, and funny enough, if you remember what we just ended that letter with, here's what Bremer Dangorst says actually in his mind's eye. The column was in chaos, the rain poured down, the army was mired in the filth, and the men were in the most rotten spirits. Am I the most rotten in the whole putrefying... I can't do it.
And mine the most rotten in the whole putrefying swarm.
There you go. Thank you, George. You could cut my bit out. So then Bremer Dangorst basically is, he's, walking along a column, walking through it, and they're not doing great. They're not making good time. It's muddy, it's rainy, it sucks. And then they realize that there's been a bottleneck, right? Like, for some reason, the column stopped moving. So Bremer Dangorst, big man that he is, he's just shouldering his way to the front to see what the fuck's going on.
And I know it's just because he's late. He's like, oh yeah, fuck it. I'll sort this problem out. But it's just because I'm late.
Yes. And so apparently the problem is some supply wagon has been like somewhat overturned in like some knee-deep mud. And there are 3 officers. They're arguing, and instead of like trying to figure out how to solve the problem, they're just assigning blame. So Bremer Dangorst, being the hero that he is, just rolls up his sleeve, goes behind the back of the cart, braces himself, and strains to lift it out the mud. He yells at the driver to go. The driver whips the horses, which I don't like, but the horses move.
It's a pretty awful description, isn't it? Like the poor horses being whipped into a frenzy.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. So the wagon gets out of the mud, and it's so sudden that Bremer Dangorst falls forward, face down into the mud. So now our boy's dirty. Poor guy. And they say thank you, sir. At least one guy does. And I like how in his mind, it's like almost like a Glock thing, where Glock would have these monologues where he's like talking to himself. He says, "Keep your axles oiled, you retarded scum. Keep your cart on the road, you gawping halfwits. Do your damn jobs, you lazy vermin. Is that too much to ask?"
I love it.
Okay.
Love it. It's such a good, just think this guy's like a regular fucking knight and he's all loyal and whatever. And you just find out that he's this horrible within like a page or two. like this horrible like piece of shit. Like he'll say something to somebody, help somebody, and then think behind them, "Oh, you retard!" Like, what the fuck?
Although, I will say, I think when the majority of people, maybe in not so harsh words, but in their own mind would go, "You fucking moron! You held up this entire column. You fucking idiot! Like, what's wrong with you?" Like, I mean, I'm just saying. I don't think he's being that much of an asshole here, thinking that.
I just think
the entire army was held up by this one man.
Absolutely, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to think about people, especially when you're fucking late for work. I know what that feels like, but it's the escalation in language more than anything. I don't think Joe's ever. I don't think Joe's ever used the word retarded before, and the fact that he uses it, and it's so vitriolic. It's not like, it feels so personal, this hatred that he has towards like every single person that he meets.
Yeah. And Gorse is one of those guys that will think these things, and then what he mutters is good. Thank you. And because he's saying thank you to the guy that thanked him, and also apologize for dirtying Gorse's military uniform even more by saying, like, I don't know, patting him on the chest or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get a little sneak peek into Gorse's mind frame there, so that's interesting. And so he makes his way to Lord Marshal Croy's, who is the now Commander-in-Chief of His Majesty's armies, Will Croy, ever since our boy West and Polder died,
He was the new Lord Marshal.
Mm-hmm. And so he made a temporary headquarters of like a squat cottage. And as Gorst is walking towards it, he sees that the cottage's owners are like hanging out in the barn, and they're not looking too happy, which I can't blame them. And so he walks in, and it's a bunch of officers, and they looked disappointed when they saw that was Gorst. They're like, "Oh, this guy," and then Gorst is like, "Great." And we see that it's more, Marshal Croy. He is at the head of the table, sitting with unflinching discipline, because our homie. He always pulls up right. His chief of staff is Colonel Felnig, and same kind of lineage of like Croy, like in terms of attention to detail, military precision, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it seems like they've. I think it's stated that he's worked with him for a very long time.
Yeah.
I kind of find it interesting because I feel like we get onto Misrick in a second. Sorry, Jeff, I'm going to steal that bit from you. You get Misrick, which is basically with Felnig and Misrick, we've got Polder and Croy again. In that kind of way, and I feel like that's a really interesting way for Joe to kind of repeat this idea. It's like things go in cycles. Things will just repeat over and over and over throughout time, and he does that a lot. Less his way repeats so much. I think it's part of this like message. I think it's good.
Yeah, he does certainly have like themes reoccurring in people, and I do think it's for this, thinking of it in his cycle terms. But it's always a little bit different. Just so it feels like real life. Like you do see a lot of similarities, but it's always a little bit different.
Yeah, and so we see that General Miderick is, he's a big burly guy, right?
He's got a big chin. He's got the chin. Joe spends a lot of time talking about the chin. That's important.
Yeah. And he's like, he's got like these big leather gauntlets that go up to his elbows almost. And so, yeah.
He's such a man.
And he even says that it looks like he's getting ready to like birth a cow or something. Because he's got the really long gloves.
Yeah, and so
that's such a weird, vivid detail. And again, I love Joe's weird, vivid details. Just wonderful, especially when they're read to me in Stephen Pacey's dulcet tones.
Yeah, we love some Stephen Pacey here. And so General Miderick, he looks at Gorse and his dirty ass uniform. He goes, "More heroics." And then Gorse,
to know more, please read the short story in the Sharp Ends. A Little Village in Barden.
We'll get to that eventually.
I know. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh shit. Okay, that's right. And Gorse wants to tell him to like shove it up his ass or whatever, but he knows that in his like high pitched voice, the joke would be on him. So he says that he would have rather faced 1,000 Northmen than this ordeal with the humiliation as he always does, right? So he just found a gloomy corner, sat down in there, and just kept to himself. And he imagined the smirking heads of Mitterick's staff on the pikes of Blackdow's army. So interesting.
Again, yeah, definitely not mentally healthy here. Having like these violent ideations, like, oh, I wish you were dead and your head was on a stick.
Yeah.
Even for a soldier, that's a bit.
Yeah.
And I want to point out this self-hatred, this hatred of other people, but which really it is, it's gonna be. You'll see it's a manifestation of like his hatred of himself. But repeat that, George.
He's the manifestation of like the lack of self-confidence.
Yeah.
Like nobody would give a shit if he had a high voice, if he was competent socially. Yeah. If he knew how to talk his way out of things and just have a conversation, nobody would care. It's the fact that he thinks people care.
Right, but he's very resentful. So like what he says is to himself, it's an upside down sham of a world in which men like these, if they could be called men at all, can look down on a man like me. I am worth twice the lot of you, and this is the best a union has to offer. We deserve to lose. It's like, okay, all right, Gorse.
Yeah, it's interesting. He definitely has a characteristic of like narcissism, but unlike narcissism that's normally in its way, George is right. He is insecure about his voice, but like he seeks of himself. If he didn't have his voice, he would think of himself as 100% better than everybody.
Well, the funny thing about narcissists, even though like they also, they think so highly of themselves, they also hate themselves too. So it's
just more pronounced in Gorse because he is something that's always there. His voice is always there, reminding him. But it definitely seems like Gorse has an issue with, like hatred. Like he goes from 0 to 100, even if it's in his own head. He goes from being like. He doesn't. There's no in between for him. Either he thinks he's better than you and hates you, or he he absolutely adores you. It seems to be his only two modes, and most people fall into the first. So
yeah, we'll get into that.
But I also find it interesting. Just going a little back where after he helps those guys, and they all say thanks and whatever. When he's walking away, and he goes, it says he can almost hear it, like them laughing at him. But I just think it's all in his own head. It doesn't actually happen. Nobody really cares that much about.
They all admire Gorse too, right now at least.
Exactly, and we hear from lots of other characters. We hear it from like Giselle and Logan, and a few other POVs. I think in the first trilogy that he has a high voice, but they never really think about it apart from well, that's weird.
Yeah, right. And so, as Gorse is rattling off this interesting thought. We hear somebody say, "Can't win a war without getting your hands dirty," and we go, "Oh, who's this?" And Gorse looks sideways, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a return from the trilogy, the Dogman.
Oh yeah.
He's
not doing too well, is he?
He's doing fantastic. What are you talking about? I think he's doing great. He says, he tells Gorse, some folk would rather keep clean, though, and lose. So, anyway, and Gorse kind of goes, all right, well, I can't make it. I'm already an outsider in some ways, so I can't be even more of an outsider and just strike up all this conversation with the Dogman, a northerner. So he kind of just goes back to being silent and looks at pays attention to what's going on with the officers.
And again, just quickly, I love that it just in that one kind of interaction between the Dogman and Gorse, you get a whole kind of sense of, or at least a reaffirmation of Dogman's character and how Gorse feels all in a couple of sentences. Mm-hmm. It's so compact. The economy of words here is I'm in awe.
I see what you're saying.
It's packed with detail, this book. We've got to go over every line.
Yeah. Well, so now we get back to the conversation between the officers, and they're talking about when are they getting here? Soon. How many? I heard 3. And what are they talking about? And so apparently he goes, no, only one person's coming. It only takes one member of the closed council. "Oh, folks, we're seeing somebody from the closed council making an appearance. Look at that, love that." And then,
although I do have a small issue with that lore wise, is that Croy is a member of the closed council.
Yeah, I know, right?
Being a Lord Marshal, but I will say they were probably like, oh, here comes another member, right? And their heads
maybe it takes
more of a
two out of three
bureaucrat, right?
But here's the thing: as the Lord Marshal, he is part of the closed council, but he's not speaking for the closed council in terms of military action,
messages,
right?
And stuff. Yeah.
Like he's only like the leader of the military there, right? But if the closed council needs this, somebody else is coming in the capacity of the closed council. Does that make sense?
No, it's a good point, and I will say it's accentuated even more by who it is.
Yeah. So
I mean, let's face it, they've already taken the vote, and Croy's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And so Gorse, at this point, when he hears that somebody from the closed council is coming, he gets a little nervous, and he starts thinking about the day that those horrible old men had stripped him of his position. Wait, what? What are they talking about? What is he talking about? And so, it says, so he thinks about apparently them squashing his dreams, right, as carelessly as a boy might squash a beetle. And then, he's thinking back to a certain day where, he was ushered out into the hallway, next in line. And then here we go. No longer commander of the king's guards. No longer a knight of the body. No longer anything but a squealing joke. My name made a byword for failure and disgrace. How could he could see that panel of creased and sagging sneers still. And at the head of the table, Giselle, the king's pale face clenched, jaw clenched, refusing to meet Gorse, eyesight, his eye line.
Yeah, you can't look him in the eye.
Can't look him in
we
the
know
eye.
we know Giselle, and we know Giselle likes Gorse because he's like the last part of his old life.
Yeah, and kind of confused, like, what happened? Oh my god! And so Felnig, Gorse is kind of brought back to Earth when Felnig is like, do we know which of them will it be? And Croy just says, it doesn't matter. We already know what they're going to say, that the king demands a great victory at twice the speed and half the cost, as always, right? And Midoric is like, God damn politicians sticking their noses into our business. And then he's like, as he's talking shit about the politicians, the closed council, the doorknob to the room opens, turns and it opens, and a heavy-set old man entered the room, entirely bald, with
a lot of boss music playing.
With a short gray beard, and he gives no immediate impression of supreme power. His clothes were only slightly less rain-soaked and mud-spattered than Gorse. His staff was of plain wood, more walking stick than rod of office, but still, though he and the single unassuming servant who scraped in after him were outnumbered 10-1 by some of the finest peacocks in the army, it was the officers who held their breath. The old man carried about him an air of untouchable confidence, disdainful ownership, masterful control. The
air of a slaughterman casting an eye over that morning's hogs. And I love that that's the second... I know you're going to shoot me. Sorry. I love that that's the second reference we get as Baez as a butcher. Well, we know that the first time that Baez is introduced from Logan's perspective, before we know anything, he's the butcher. Mm-hmm. And now he's the slaughterman. Even though it goes kind of like generous interpretation of things, because he's so fucking depressed, he's just like making shit up in his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the military officers are stunned because they were not expecting to see Lord Baez, apparently. I like how Gore says the room could not have been more dumbstruck if the corpse of Herod the Great had been trundled in on a trolley to address them. And so, and then Baez, he just tosses his staff to his curly-headed servant, which we know is Yoru Sulfur. And he goes, "Oh, fellas, some weather, man! This is a crazy time out here. This rain is wild." And then, everyone's like, "Oh, we weren't expecting you." And he goes, "Oh, well, why would you be? I'm retired. I left my seat on the council." So the Croy is like, "Oh, we weren't expecting you." And Baez is, Why would you be? I'm retired. I left my seat on the closed council empty once again and was seeing out my dotage at my library, far removed from the grind of politics. But since this war is taking place on my very doorstep, I thought it would be neglectful of me not to stop by. I have brought money with me. I understand pay is standing somewhat in arrears.
Yep, that sticks. That's good.
Listeners, I am letting you know I am told to do this voice for Baez, so I apologize in advance.
You love it, really, Jeffrey.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah, and then Corey goes, yeah, we're tight on money a little bit, and Baez, he always likes to hear himself talk a little more in the soldier's veneer of honor and obedience might swiftly rub away. Hey, gentlemen, without his golden lubricant, the great machine and His Majesty's army would sooner stutter to a halt, would it not, as it would so much in life? Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should keep doing this voice, Jeff.
No,
I'm not going to be able to. I can't compose a thought with you doing that voice.
Every now and again, but that's that's my voice for Baez now. I just,
it's like an old-timey saloon owner.
The whole vibe with Baez here too is like, oh, you guys are starting doing this fast enough, and
I'm here to help.
Yeah, I'm here to help. I mean, I'm kind of like the foreman, and I'm gonna have to get my hands dirty a little bit. I don't like that, so I'm gonna make sure you know that you guys are all my little bitches. But
it's very good at doing that. Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of like when you're at work and your CEO comes to visit, and you have a big meeting, and they go big spreadsheet that goes, look, we've made loads of money this year, and you guys are really great for doing that, but nobody's getting a raise though.
Yeah.
And they look you right in the eye and say, this is Baez right there.
Yeah. He is. Baez right now is probably at the height that I would say very close to the height of his power right now. Everybody knows who he is, and he can walk in a room, lay his big dick down, and be like, you guys are all my bitches, and you can do whatever I want. Who knows? I have a theory that the closed council didn't even fucking send Baez. Baez just decided that he was around, and he's like, this is fucking taking too long.
I always thought that, right?
Baez told the closed council that he's going. They didn't tell him.
Baez, at the end of the last Document of the Kings, goes to the fucking Great Northern Library.
Yeah.
He's just like chilling. So he could have just walked down and been like, yeah, no, you got to fight this war better.
Yeah. I don't even think he told Galacta. I think he just showed up.
Yeah. Galacta doesn't need to know until after the war's won anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. But
that's not even a spoiler in this book. It's funny.
It's definitely a situation where, I like the vibe of it when he comes in here because he feels like, he's the boss and everybody knows it. He literally even says, I'm the architect. You guys are the masons. So you guys need to do what I say. And essentially what he tells them is, you guys need to hurry up this war, as we're kind of indicating there. Mm-hmm. And they go, okay, well, sure, Lord Baez. What you mean by the end of the year? And there he's like, no.
At the end of the campaign season?
Yeah, he's like, no, in like 2 weeks. And they're like, what? We can't do that. Everyone in the room did that. And so Baez is like looking around like, yeah, that's right, guys. You got to do it. You guys are my bitches.
But he's like, it's okay though, because I brought money.
Yep, I got money.
I can pay all your soldiers. That's fine.
Who cares about your lives? You guys don't need to worry about that. All you guys got to do is throw yourself at the enemy. So everybody in the room, I find this very interesting. This is not the first. It will be the last time that everybody in the room is like, oh, we can't do this. We can't do this. Blah blah blah, freaking out and talking and stuff. And Croy's like, no. Okay, got it, bro. We'll figure it out. And everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah. They all follow Croy's lead. Croy's a good leader. But he seems way more like calm, like he already knew this was coming. He's not. There's no point in arguing with Baez. Let's just go along with it, and we'll figure it out. He doesn't look happy, but he's also like not going to argue with Baez at all. And he's not going to let anybody else argue with him. It's just how it is.
It's true to character as well.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't like it though, and so we'll see some more of that later on. But I like that Croy, even though Baez is telling everybody what to do. Croy still demands everybody's respect, and everybody listens to him right away. So he is, in fact, establishes him as the leader of this campaign, even though Baez is telling him what to do.
And alongside all that serious stuff, I love these little interactions here. Like when he goes up, Mitsurik, he goes up to Mitsurik and it's like, "Oh, Mitsurik, I've heard of you." And he's like, "Oh, it's a great honor." And he's like, "Oh no, the honor is mine." And Baez is just like, "Yeah,
Yep. It is. The honor is.
damn right it is."
Yep. And I like how before we got there, Baez sees the dog man. He goes, "Oh shit, the dog man. We had a mutual friend in Logan Nine Fingers." And dog man's like, "Yeah, but I'm not so sure he's actually dead." Okay, interesting. And then apparently Baez tells, his dad, you never know, but he tells Baez tells Dogman in Northern, he goes, "You have to be realistic about these things," which I love that little callback. And then Croy, he goes, "Oh, and this is Bremer Dan Gorse," but Baez knew that. And he goes, "Oh yes, I saw you fence against the king 5 years ago, 6," and we find out it's actually been 9.
Yeah, it's great. That's a long time.
And then
I do also like that little action between Dogman and Baez. It also highlights their characters and where they're at. Baez is always exactly the same as he was before, where he's thinking like, "Oh yeah, Logan Nine Fingers was my friend," but in reality, we know that Logan wasn't. He's like he was a great man, and Dogman has a perfect thing to say here, and Dogman is so underrated because he says, he was a little good, a little bad, like everyone else." And I love that line because that's so true and it's very accurate, especially for somebody like Logan.
Yeah.
And Dogman sees perfectly clear, and Baez can only see through his ego. He's like, he was a great man because he was my friend. He was because he would have been my puppet. It's just a shame. He thinks he's got this understanding with the Dogman, and the Dogman, I don't think he sees right through Baez or something, but he's like, Dogman's already like past that point. Dogman's so much more mature than Baez at this point that he's on a whole nother level that Baez can't even realize. And I love this little interaction because it just highlights Baez says he was a great man, and he always says that because of him and because he thinks of Logan in a high regard, even despite everything, which seems like when you first time like you read the series, you think of that too. Yeah, he was a good guy, but Dogman has the real picture of it. I think it's a good interaction.
That Baez only really regards Logan that well because of the spirits. Because he has some magic.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and he's the bloodiest motherfucker in the entire North, maybe the entire world.
Subject to theory. Other theories are available.
I'm not entertaining that right now. So, so then Baez, going back to his interaction with Gorse, he was like, "Oh yeah, 9 years," and Gorse goes, "Yeah, I was fairly beaten." And then Baez goes, "Well, you were beaten anyway," right? Because
I'm just gonna say that the way that Pacey does that is perfectly. It's like, "Oh, I was fairly beaten." It's like, "Well, you were beaten anyway," and it's just like it almost just a really snide joke.
Yeah,
because surely Ghost has some idea that it wasn't fair.
Well, I mean, maybe no Gorse. Maybe Gorse is just stunned.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does because he even says it. He goes, he slapped Gorse on the arm as if they had shared a private joke. Though if they had, it was private to Baez alone. So I don't think Gorse has any idea. And then
yeah,
Baez,
I don't think that Gorse would hold Giselle in high regard if he thought he did.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Which is it's kind of sorry, Jeff.
You're good.
I know it's another false start there. Just the delay. I find it interesting that like the source of Gorse's self-hatred is something that isn't his fault.
Right.
Like he hates himself because he lost this duel, and that was like start of a downward spiral.
Well, I don't think. No, I think he's always hated himself. I think.
I don't know. He could. We don't know that for sure. Like he could have been a perfectly. I don't know. He could have been well adjusted before he lost that.
Duel. Hates himself because of his voice, because he's awkward socially. That doesn't just happen from the contest.
But the main point that I'm trying to make is that his major downfall, that he could probably have been the fucking king if he'd have won the duel. If Baez had met him first and liked him.
Well, it was either going to be.
I know that wasn't likely because the East doesn't fit the profile or whatever, but it's just the fact that he was just born that way and Giselle was born that way. That's the only difference between them.
Right. I hear you.
Well, I don't know.
I think.
Does that make sense, or am I just rambling? Sorry.
I think you're rambling a little bit, but Gorse, I think he's just always hated himself. Always. I think always. I don't think you develop that kind of self-hatred off one incident.
That's what I meant by like a kind of a downward spiral.
Yeah, but he was well known. He was promoted to a high position. Leader of the Knight's bodyguards and all that stuff. Nah. It's just like he's never gonna be happy with whatever he has. He's one of those dudes. That's what I think. But then I like how Baez, he goes, "Hey, I thought you were with the Knights of the Body, right? Weren't you guarding the king at the Battle of Adua?" and Gorse is like,
"Yes."
And then Croy, as a good guy, he sees that Gorse is starting to get like uncomfortable, and he goes, "Oh, Colonel Gorse is here as the king's observer." And then Baez goes, "Of course." After that business in Sapani, and then we get a description here. His face burned as though the city's very name was a slap. Sapani. And as simply as that, the best part of him was where he spent. Simply that. No, as. Sorry, hold on.
I'm saving that bit.
Okay. And as simply as that, the best part of him was where he spent so much of his time. 4 years ago, back in the madness of Cardati's House of Leisure, stumbling through the smoke, searching desperately for the king, reaching the staircase, seeing that masked face, and then the long, bouncing trip down the stairs into unjust disgrace.
It's funny, I seem to remember a different character in the last book knocking somebody down some stairs in that particular House of Leisure. Isn't that interesting?
Folks, it was Shivers!
What?
Unbeknownst to Gorse, of course.
Yeah,
and Shivers, probably.
A masked face, yeah, that's it. And so... and Gorse had nothing to say when he comes back to reality, and Baez goes, well, and he just gives him like a little pat on the shoulder. He's like, you maybe could work your way back into the king's good graces.
It's so beneath him,
Yeah. So then Baez gets to the situation where you described, Harrison, where Croy outlines the whole what's been happening, what they plan to do, and then Baez is basically like, yeah, we want this done now. So they're very frustrated. By the time when Baez leaves, because he tells them he's going to stay as an observer as well, he goes, I have some people from the university as well. They have accompanied me, and they have an invention that I am curious to see tested. Oh, great. A wartime invention. Can't go wrong. And so then, he goes, I will, I like how before he leaves, he goes, I will leave the shaping of the stones in your, and he raises an eyebrow at Mitteric's gauntlets. He goes, capable hands.
Oh, Baez, you're so funny.
And he goes, gentlemen, bye-bye. And then he leaves. And then as soon as he leaves, then everyone's getting mad as fuck. They're like, Jesus Christ, how could he? How dare he? But how before the end of the season? And so Croy is like, look, fellas, calm down. Close council has spoken. The king has spoken, so we can only strive to obey. We are just the Masons after all. So then they must have...
Croy, no! You're better than that!
But he has to. He has no choice. So now they gotta, make moves. So he calls on the Dogman to go. He goes like, if we march for Carleon in force, will the Black Dow finally, give battle? And Dogman's like, look, maybe he's not the most patient guy. It looks bad for him letting you walk all over his, country for the last few months. But he's always been an unpredictable bastard. And I do like how Gorse notices that Dogman had a bitter look on his face for a moment, as if remembering something painful, which to us tells us he's remembering his time with Black Dow. And he does say that one thing he can tell them is that if he does decide on battle, he's not going to offer battle. He's going to ram it right up your ass. So he goes, still, it's worth a try, especially if you like it up your ass. So, and I like how Croy goes, not my first choice, but they say a general should be prepared for anything.
I've got to say there is a lot of reference to bumfuckery in this book.
Bumfuckery. Well, you know, it's wartime, baby. So then he asks Dogman about a certain town. He looks at it and is like, and he says that's Osrung. It's an old town, and then this hill next to it. It's the Heroes. Interesting, and it's a odd name for a hill because it's named after a ring of old stones on top. So then he talks about how this, you know, some warriors of ancient days are buried beneath them, or at least that's one rumor, etc. He says that he sent a dozen to have a, you know, a look-see up there, and he hasn't heard anything back from them yet. Has anything heard back from them just yet? But you know, if there's an issue, there's help nearby, which I believe is in the town of Osrung. And so Croy decides that that's the spot. We're going to meet at the Heroes. So he tells Felnig to send word to Lord Governor Mead to abandon the siege of Alensand and to move with all haste to Osrung. You know, they say that Mead will be furious, and he's like, he doesn't give a fuck. So apparently, you know, and then Dogman offers. He goes, "Look, I'll be heading that way, so I can pass the message." And they're like, "Yeah, it might be better if Colonel Felnig does it." Personally, no offense, but
I love that, and also the little interaction where they're like, "Oh well, Governor Mead is not the biggest fan of Northmen," and Dogman's just like, "Oh yeah, just not like the rest of you, eh?"
He's so sassy in this book. It's so awesome. He's, like I said, he's such a fully realized person at this point. Like, he just does not give a fuck. He's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are awesome. You guys are a great crowd. Don't you guys just love me?"
Mm-hmm.
He's fully pragmatic at this point, isn't he? He's like, "Yeah, we need the Union to help us, so I'm just gonna play along, but I'll be sassy when I need to."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, so it'll take them a few days to get there, Dogman and Felnig, and so they'll meet up in 5. And Miderick is ready and, you know, excited to get his division ready to make a night march to get at the enemy. And Croy goes, "Nah, halt them for the night on these roads. You know, haste will do more harm than good."
But my lord, we're chomping at the bit.
And he goes, "Listen, man, I tend to rush, but not headlong into defeat. We must not push the men too hard. They need to be ready." And Miderick gets mad at these shitty roads. So
it's always the fucking roads, man.
Yeah, it's always the roads.
Every single, if you've ever read a war autobiography, that is the main thing that everyone complains about. It's just the roads are fucking always shit.
Hey, logistics have a bigger impact on war than you think.
So, I know, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, Croy writes a, you know, he starts writing out an order, and he looks for someone that will take this order to General Jallenhorn, that his order is going to be to move with all haste to the Heroes and secure the hill, the town of Osrung, and any other crossings of the river. And Gorse is like, "I will take it." Because, you know, Jallenhorn is going to be first into battle, so he wants to be there, you know? And I liked how Croy goes, "There is no one I would rather entrust it to." And then he looks at Gorse, he goes, "But remember, you're the king's observer, not the king's champion. Observe, but no more heroics. Not like the other day at Barden." So Gorse has been taking his opportunities here and there to cause some ruckus, it seems like, to, you know, let off some steam. And, you know, Croy does say, before Gorse leaves, that the king would never forgive him if we were to lose Gorse. So apparently it's well known that the king still loves Jazal. No, the king still loves Gorse.
Yes, the king still loves Gorse. Like, it's like, even though the king, you know, even though he's like, no, they don't, he doesn't like me, or I'm like, he sent me here to die or whatever. He actually does, in fact, like him, because Croy wouldn't say that for no reason.
Yeah, for sure. And so Gorse is like, "Whatever you say, Lord Marshal." And he takes his order and he walks outside, and he is stunned, folks, because there she is, some gorgeous woman, and her name is Fenri. And he's stunned because he wasn't expecting her to see her there. And he asks her, "Oh, why are you here?" And she goes, "To see my father. Is he in there?" And yep, he's in there. Writing orders. So now,
yes, he is in there.
If he's writing orders, that means that's Croy's daughter. Fenri is Lord Marshal Croy's daughter. Oh, snap.
Say what? He's got a daughter? No way.
Yeah. And so, George, I know you want to kind of like talk about this a little bit, but so they're exchanging pleasantries, right? Go ahead about some stuff that Gorse. There's the difference between what he tells her and then what's going on in his mind. Go ahead.
He's just absolutely fucking. He's never talked to a woman before.
No.
And it's like this is somebody that like smiled at him like 3 years ago, and he's still like obsessed with it. It's absolutely incredible.
He's also known as a super incel.
Absolutely, but it was I find it so incredible because this book was written like 5 years before the word incel was even a thing.
Oh, right. I guess so. You're right.
And it's just perfect. He's just like he puts Finri, and do you not think it's funny that he kind of sounds like Ardy?
Finri, Ardy.
Finri, Ardy. You know, it's got the same like ring to it.
Yeah,
and I think that might be a bit intentional from Joe, because it's a fantasy fucking novel. You could pick any fucking name that you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think that.
Well,
here I don't think he's an incel. Not here.
I mean, like he's very he's just imagined this person that he doesn't even know, and he's just fallen in love with this random idea in his head. He doesn't actually know.
Well, we don't know the whole story.
No,
yet.
They know each other. It's clear.
Yeah, but they know each other. Like, well, I'll just cut that whole bit out. It's fine.
Why did you think they didn't know each other?
Well, I get the sense that they know each other, but not really, like personally. Like she's very like the same way that you might be with like anybody like on a formal level.
I know what you mean.
Well,
and I think you may be right, but we don't know the full extent of what they're like yet. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like I think it's a bit too spoilery for the end of the book. So
yeah, maybe. But like, there's still some familiarity because like she goes still playing in the mud. I see. So she's like either seen him recently or over time he may he's always like getting dirty.
But again, that's the thing is that we know that he just like fucking wrestles with people for like 4 hours a day.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
I think on the name part of her, I don't think it has to do with RD. I think there's a like I've mentioned this before, but Joe does a good job at subtly like world building and things like that. It's a union name. It's kind of falls the same line.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and he says he thought nothing could be more beautiful than she used to be, but now she's even more beautiful than ever. Yeah, I mean I don't know, but his love for her is very one-sided and very interesting. He goes, "Kill me now, so that your face can be the last thing I see," or he says things like, "You may crush my eyes out with your heels. Just say my name again, please."
I love the bit where she just like casually kind of flirtatiously accuses him of like not telling the truth, and he's like, "I never dissemble," and he's like, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you."
Yeah, I don't know if you listened to the audiobook on Jeffrey, but Gorse is so awesome in the audiobook in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
I know. I need to. Fucking, I'm an idiot. And so I like how friend was like, okay, she's about to go in, whatever, right? And then she's like, she does the thing a proper lady does. She holds out her hand and is like, okay, you may kiss my hand, right? And Gorse is about to go kiss it, and the man has just been gobsmacked because he sees a golden ring on her finger, and he goes, "Is that?" And she goes, "A marriage band? Yes."
Yeah, it's almost like she just seemed very eager to say it, but not like
she's excited. She's a newlywed. She's a newlywed.
I mean, sure. But...
Oh my God, you incel! Stop hating women. Anyway.
What? She seems a little too excited. Okay. She clearly did that because she hates men.
And I like how Gorse, right after this, Gorse is like, could she know he would rather she had dangled a butchered head in his face? He gripped to a smile like a drowning man to the last stick of wood. And he goes, apparently, he's like, "Who is the gentleman?" And she goes, "Colonel Harrod Dan Brock." We know that name, folks.
Brock. Where have I heard that before?
Son of a traitor.
Yeah. Gorse explains it right here. Herod Dan Brock. And he goes, the name was sin in his mouth. They were distantly related. They had spoken sometime years ago when Gorse had served with the guard of his father, Lord Brock. And then Lord Brock had made his bid for the crown. You remember this, folks, and decided with the Gurkish. But the king was merciful and let his sons and everything live. And now he goes, how Gorse wished the king was less merciful now. And I like this. I like how there's interplay between what he says and what he thinks, right? George, if you want to take this over, go ahead. But she goes, like, he is serving on Lord Governor Meade's staff.
That fucker.
Yeah, that bastard, well spoken of and well liked in spite of his father's disgrace. The snake
bastard.
Yeah, but it's implied, like, at first that it's because he's a traitor. Like, his father should have never been trusted. But really, it's just because he wants to sleep with Benry. That's all. That's all it really is. I could tell by the very first time. I'm like, oh, he doesn't like him because for the pure reason of he's with the woman who he likes. That's it. Because let's be real, guys.
He never actually acknowledges anything she says.
Right. Yes. She goes, we are very happy. And he goes, good for you. I want to kill myself.
Yeah, it's all about him all the time.
Yep. And then he goes, how I love you, how I hate you, how I want you. That's all in his mind's eye. And he goes, my congratulations to you, bro. And she goes, yes, I will tell Herod. Yes. He goes, yes, tell him. And she goes, look, I got to go see Daddy, but perhaps we'll see each other again sometime soon. And he goes, yes, very soon, hopefully. And he goes, tonight, in fact, while I lie awake with my cock in my hand, pretending it's your mouth. It's like, all right. Jesus.
That's weird.
I don't like that one.
He doesn't say it, but he's thinking it. And he is, wow, he's feeling a lot of feelings. The soil is heaped upon me, the grit of burial in my mouth.
That's a great line.
Ghost could be a poet, if he just sat down and wrote these things down, he'd be like Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, for real. Much more of I don't want to keep using the word incel, but
such an incel.
He's lonely. He's a lonely man, and
which we can all empathize, being lonely. We get it.
Exactly, and I do feel kind of sorry for him because the main thing that holds him back is something that isn't his fault, which is his voice.
Yeah, and his social ineptitude, and yeah.
Oh, and him being a complete asshat and doesn't know how to speak to, like you said, social ineptitude, but also like lack of empathy.
Yeah.
What about empathy?
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's a sociopath.
Maybe. Well, while he's, after considering what he could do to hurt himself, he takes a sharp breath and just, walks away, into the dark because he had a message to carry after all with no heroics. And that's the end of that long ass chapter. Boys, how do you want to rate that?
I really like this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the best character intros, or at least POV intros that we've had.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
I'm actually giving this one an 8.5.
Wow. Okay.
Because I absolutely love Ghost. I love reading him. I know it's really on the nose sometimes, just like how much of a cunt he is. I just love reading it. It's so good.
Okay, Harrison.
I just find this is such a good book. So I'm trying to measure it off of itself, and it's difficult because we're like in the intro, but it sets things up really well. It probably sets things up very concisely. This and the next chapter, for the two sides, right? And I think I'm gonna rate this one a 6 and a knuckle. Really good introduction, but it's still there's not too much going on in terms of like payoff, I guess, in any way, because we're still in the setup time. I just think it's an okay chapter with a really good setup, but I feel like there's not enough meat here,
Is it not enough meat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Meat.
Meat. We like that meat. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Actually, I really enjoyed it. But it's all character building. We're really diving into Gorst, and then we get to see Baez make an appearance. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7. Yeah, I wanted to give it a 7. We can see Baez. We get an appearance from the Dogman. We get an appearance from Croy. There's a lot of appearances, not a lot of like driving the plot forward, except actually, we get okay, now we got to make these advancement. The army has to advance, but that's pretty much it. And we just see Gorst whining and whining and whining and whining, right? But
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But he whines in such a funny way.
He does whine in a funny way. You were right about that. So, yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 9 fingers for The Best of Us. So we'll move on to our next segment, which is the character spot. Who are we highlighting?
Our humble cart driver that Ramadan Ghost assists. This guy's just fucking
Whipping
like
horses.
a lot of whipping horses. He's a little bit of a piece of shit for that. Like a lot of other people that we cover on our character spots. This is just a dude that's just fucking doing his job,
No.
Nah, he's a dick.
He's a fucking monster. Look at him whipping horses, holding the entire column for what? Because he can't get off and pull up his own cart out of the mud? Come on.
Yeah.
He only patted Gorst because he was terrified of him. He should be flayed.
What'd you say he did to Gorst?
He patted him,
No,
you're a good man.
That was somebody else. That was a mud.
I thought that was one of the other soldiers that was trying to push.
That was the other one trying to help lift the cart.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Still.
The driver's a dick. Fuck him. And there's no need to whip a horsey into a lather. That's not cool.
No, it's definitely not. But it does just kind of go to show that this is one of Joe's kind of like casual brutality, because these kind of things were super common. I mean, you're about like 300 years ago in most cultures, and it was pretty common to just see somebody getting murdered in the street, and it was just like, well, I guess I'll go home and have dinner now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you probably saw plenty of horses, get whipped into a lather.
Exactly. We'll talk about it, Jeffrey. The Great War was awful on the horses.
Yeah, poor oh God, don't even make me think about that. What, World War One? Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say about this guy, but he, this is what happens when you don't have a functioning logistical team in your army. All right, you fucking don't foresee potentially bad weather and travel conditions. Come on, man.
And animal abusers.
Oh, you're a piece of shit in my book. And yeah, I got nothing else to add to the guy.
Yeah,
you guys
0 out of 9 character.
0 out of 9 character. Yeah, we just wanted to pick somebody, some random fuckface.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah,
let's give him a name.
What about George?
Fuck! What the fuck? What did I do to deserve that?
we can call him George.
I'm genuinely hurt. What the hell? You can call me many things, but not an animal abuser. What the
fuck? Sorry, George. But he's the new Curious George. All right, so that's our character spot, and we'll move on to our final segment. It's a community interaction segment. Again, we don't really have much to update you on, except for the fact that, it looks like we're not on Reddit. So don't know if that'll ever change. So we are trying to figure out ways around it. But in the meantime, we're going to try to be a bit more interactive and engaging with you via other platforms or methods.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a First Law Discord that I think the link to it is on the First Law subreddit. Feel free to try to. We're on that. Well, I think I have to make a Discord specifically for the podcast to join it. But they're great people over there. You can message us on the Discord if you want to join our Discord that we have. It's like a little guesting where, friends of the podcast have come to shoot the shit. Feel free to reach out to us. We will get you that invite link. What else? Oh, we hit us up, on Instagram, on Twitter, on our email account. I'll give that stuff to you in a second as well. But hit us up with maybe questions you would like us to answer on one episodes, or maybe you want us to talk about a certain aspect. Maybe like in this book, we're doing the heroes. Maybe you want us to talk about the certain perspective or a certain character, maybe a spotlight. Whatever the case may be, shoot us, a contact attempt. So email us at circletheworldpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter is at COTWpod. And our Instagram, as I said earlier, is Circle the World Podcast. That's it on Instagram. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
And don't forget that you can leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify. You can leave a comment directly on the episode that you listen to, which is probably this one, considering that I'm telling you to leave a comment right now. So go ahead.
We don't see a comment on this episode. We definitely reach out to us if you can. It's our main platform of Reddit is not available to us at the time. Hopefully, we'll find a workaround. But we are sorry for the inconvenience for anybody who might reach out to us, as we know you guys sometimes do on Reddit. We cannot respond, so we are sorry. Try to reach out to us on the email instead.
Yeah, and it also learned that on the Spotify, version, we can put up polls after every episode. So we'll probably start doing that, asking you silly questions. But and if anybody knows of any kind of alternative to Reddit where create threads, that kind of stuff, let me know and we'll try to join that. No alt-right or alt-left or no wacky stuff. All right, folks, just something that's people use and it's pretty pretty popular.
It's a tall order, Jeffrey. This is the internet.
Yeah, I know.
You're saying that like we're just gonna start posting on 4chan or something.
Well, I don't know. You never know. One of us might snap. But yeah, so yeah, just please, reach out to us. We're trying to drive, more engagement with y'all. So yeah, hit us up. But that's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean oh so very much.
Join us next week as we cover Black Dow, What War, and Old Hands.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media and shoot us a message on email, Instagram, Twitter, and not Reddit anymore, but And we have a website, it's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. Please make sure to rate and review this podcast. And thank you all again for listening.
I never dissemble.